The moment 30-year-old David Martinez walked onto the Voice stage, something felt different. Not because of his appearance, though his tall frame and dark hair were striking under the bright studio lights, but because of the weight he carried, an invisible burden that seemed to press down on his shoulders with every step. He moved slowly, deliberately, as if each movement required conscious effort, as if the simple act of being there took every ounce of strength he possessed. What nobody in that studio knew was that David wasn't supposed to be there alone. And what was about to happen would prove that some dreams are so powerful they transcend even death itself. Hidden in the shadows backstage, the Voice production team had prepared something that would either heal David's broken heart or shatter it completely. They had no way of knowing which way it would go, but they knew that sometimes the most powerful moments in television happen when raw human emotion meets unexpected grace. Let me take you back to understand how David got to this moment, because his journey to the Voice stage was paved with loss so profound it had nearly destroyed him. David Martinez had a little sister named Emma. She was 14 years younger than him, born when David was already a teenager, but from the moment she came into the world, she had been the light of his life. Emma wasn't just his sister, she was his best friend, his musical partner, his reminder that the world still held magic worth protecting. Music had been their shared language since Emma's childhood. Growing up in a working-class family in Arizona, David had taught Emma to play guitar when she was just 7 years old, her small fingers struggling to reach the frets, while her voice, even then, carried an emotional depth that seemed impossible from someone so young. By the time Emma was 10, they were performing together at local church events and community gatherings, a protective older brother and his gifted little sister, whose voices blended in harmonies that seemed effortless because they came from shared DNA and unbreakable love. The Martinez duo, as they became known throughout their community, had dreams bigger than Arizona could contain. Emma, now 16 and a high school senior, had been planning to audition for The Voice after graduation. She had the talent, the drive, and the kind of natural charisma that made everyone who heard her sing believe she was destined for stardom. David, who had put his own musical ambitions on hold to help raise Emma after their parents' divorce, had been planning to accompany her to the auditions as her support system and musical partner. Everything changed on a rainy Thursday afternoon in November, just 3 months before Emma's planned graduation and their scheduled Voice audition. Emma had been walking home from her after-school job at a local music store, taking the crosswalk she'd used hundreds of times before. A distracted driver, texting while driving, ran the red light and struck Emma as she crossed the street. She was killed instantly, just 2 blocks from their house, carrying the guitar picks David had given her for her 16th birthday in her backpack. David's world didn't just change that afternoon, it ended. His little sister was gone, taking with her not just his heart but her dreams, their shared music, the future that had always included her laughter, her voice, her boundless enthusiasm for life. The Voice audition that was supposed to launch Emma's career was automatically canceled. How could there be a Martinez duo when the star of the duo would never sing again? For months, David couldn't even look at his guitar, let alone play it. The silence in their family home, where Emma's guitar still sat in her bedroom untouched, where her sheet music still covered her desk, where her dreams still hung on the walls in the form of Voice posters and music awards from school, was deafening. Well-meaning friends and family members encouraged him to keep playing, to honor Emma's memory through music, but David couldn't see how music could exist in a world without the voice that had defined it. The turning point came on what would have been Emma's 17th birthday. David was sitting in her bedroom holding one of the songs she had written in her music journal when his phone rang. It was a producer from The Voice, calling to ask if he would consider auditioning as a solo artist. Apparently, Emma's original audition video, which she had recorded but never submitted, had somehow made its way to the show's producers through a teacher at her school who wanted to honor her memory. "I can't," David had told the producer, his voice breaking. "Emma was the talented one. I was just there to support her. Without Emma, I don't even know if I have anything worth sharing." But that night, David had a dream. He saw Emma sitting on her bed with her guitar, wearing the dress she had picked out for her planned voice audition, smiling that bright smile that had lit up every room she ever entered. "David," Emma said in the dream, "you think my dreams died with me, but they didn't. They live in you now. You carry my voice with you. Now go show them what the Martinez family sounds like." David woke up with tears on his cheeks and Emma's voice still echoing in his mind. He called the voice back and accepted the audition. Standing on the stage now, David felt the crushing weight of representing not just his own grief, but Emma's unfulfilled dreams. The bright lights seemed harsh without Emma beside him, to make nervous jokes about how she was going to be famous someday. The audience felt enormous without her presence to make him feel like he could do anything, as long as she believed in him. But he was here, and somehow, that felt like Emma was here too. Blake Shelton, Kelly Clarkson, John Legend, and Niall Horan sat in their red chairs, their backs turned, waiting to judge him solely on the merit of his voice. None of them knew his story yet, knew about the empty space beside him where his little sister should have been standing, knew that every note he was about to sing carried the weight of dreams that had been cut short by tragedy, but not destroyed by it. "Whenever you're ready," Blake called out encouragingly, his voice carrying that familiar warmth that had made him America's favorite coach. David stepped up to the microphone, his hands trembling slightly as he adjusted it. He had chosen "In the Arms of an Angel," a song that Emma had been practicing for her planned audition, a song that now felt like a prayer, a bridge between this world and whatever came after. He began to sing, and his voice, rich, soulful, carrying the weight of profound loss but also profound love, filled the studio with an authenticity that couldn't be manufactured. This wasn't just a performance, this was a conversation with someone who couldn't answer back, a love letter set to music, a way of keeping a promise to dreams that had been interrupted but not destroyed. Spend all your time waiting for that second chance, for a break that would make it okay. As David reached the chorus, something extraordinary happened. The voice production team, in a moment of inspired compassion, began displaying a large screen behind the coaches showing photos and videos of David and Emma together, performing as children, Emma practicing guitar in her bedroom, sharing the kind of moments that only come from a brother's protective love and a sister's absolute trust. Emma's face filled the screen, alive and radiant, her guitar in her hands, her voice harmonizing with David's in old home videos. David saw the screen and stopped singing mid-note. The sight of his sister's face, larger than life behind the coaches, was more than his carefully constructed composure could handle. He broke down completely, falling to his knees on the stage, sobbing with the kind of grief that comes from the deepest places of loss. "She was supposed to be here with me," David cried, his voice echoing through the silent studio. "We were going to audition together. She was going to be a star. Emma, I can't do this without you. You were the talented one. I was just supposed to help you achieve your dreams." The studio fell into the kind of silence that happens when everyone realizes they're witnessing something sacred, something too profound for applause or commentary. This wasn't just a nervous contestant having stage fright. This was a man grieving the loss of his little sister in the most public way possible, trying to honor dreams that would never be fulfilled by the person who dreamed them. Blake Shelton felt something he'd never experienced in all his years of coaching. Without thinking, without consulting anyone, without following any protocol, he was out of his chair and vaulting over the barrier that separated the coaches from the stage. His cowboy boots hit the polished floor with purpose as he ran toward David. "Hey, brother," Blake said softly as he reached the broken man on the stage. "I'm here. Talk to me." David looked up through his tears, seeing this tall country star kneeling beside him with an expression of pure compassion. "She was my little sister. She was going to change the world with her voice. We were supposed to do this together, and now she'll never get her chance. She'll never get to show everyone how amazing she was." Blake's own eyes filled with tears as he truly understood what he was witnessing. "David, what's your sister's name?" Emma Martinez." She was only 16. She had this whole plan. David's voice broke again. Blake looked up at the screen, still showing Emma's smiling face, then back at David. David, I want you to look at that screen. Look at your sister's face. Does she look like someone who would want her dreams to die with her? Does she look like someone who would want you to give up on the music you shared? David wiped his eyes and looked at the screen where Emma's image smiled down at them. No. She'd be mad if I didn't finish her song. She'd say I was being a quitter. And she hated quitters. Blake smiled through his own tears. Then let's not disappoint her. But David, I want you to understand something. You're not singing alone up here. Every harmony you ever shared with Emma, every song you taught her, every dream she had, that's all still here with you. She's not gone, brother. She's just singing from a different stage. But this is the moment no one in the studio and no one watching at home ever saw coming. Blake stood up and addressed the entire studio, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had spent decades understanding what real music meant. Ladies and gentlemen, this young man just showed us something that most people never have the courage to show. He showed us what it looks like to love someone so much that losing them nearly destroys you, but honoring them so completely that you keep going anyway. He turned back to David, his voice gentle but strong. Now, David, I want you to get up. I want you to look at that picture of your sister, and I want you to finish her song. Not just for yourself, but for Emma. Show her that her dreams aren't dead, they're just being carried forward by someone who loved her enough to make them his own. David stood up slowly, wiping his face, looking at Emma's image on the screen. I don't know if I can sing it the way she would have. You don't need to, Blake said firmly. Look around you. He gestured to the other coaches, who had all turned their chairs and were watching with expressions of support and encouragement. Kelly Clarkson was crying openly. John Legend had his hand over his heart. Niall was leaning forward with the kind of attention that showed he understood something profound was happening. And more than that, Blake continued, Emma's here. I can feel her. Every person in this studio can feel her. She's so proud of her big brother right now. So sing with her, David. Let her provide the harmony she always provided. David walked back to the microphone, looked up at the screen where Emma's face beamed down at him, and began to sing again. But this time, something magical happened. As David sang, it was as if Emma's voice joined his, not audibly but spiritually, emotionally, in the way that only siblings who had grown up making music together could share. The song became a duet between the living and the dead, between love and loss, between dreams interrupted and dreams transformed. In the arms of an angel, fly away from here, from this dark, cold hotel room. When David hit the final high note, his voice soaring with both grief and gratitude, the studio erupted. All four coaches hit their buttons simultaneously, but this wasn't about competition anymore. This was about honoring love, celebrating the bonds that transcend death, and recognizing that some performances are bigger than any television show. Blake was already walking back toward David before the other chairs had finished turning. When he reached him, he pulled him into a hug that lasted longer than any embrace in voice history. David, Blake said, his voice thick with emotion, that was one of the most powerful things I've ever witnessed. You didn't just sing that song. You sang it for your sister. You showed everyone in this room what love looks like when it refuses to let dreams die. Kelly Clarkson, herself moved beyond words, spoke through her tears. David, I could feel Emma's presence in every note you sang. You honored her dreams, and you showed us all what it means to carry love forward even when your heart is breaking. John Legend added, that wasn't just a performance, David. That was a testament to the power of music to keep dreams alive, to connect us across any distance, even the distance between life and death. Niall, clearly emotional, said simply, your sister was here, David. We all felt her, and she's so proud of the way you honored her memory. David chose Team Blake, not just because Blake had been the first to help him, but because he recognized in the country star someone who understood that the best music comes from the deepest love, someone who knew that dreams don't die with the dreamer. They transform and live on through the people who loved them most. Over the following weeks, Blake became more than David's coach. He became his friend, his support system, and his reminder that carrying Emma's dreams wasn't a burden, it was a privilege. Blake helped David understand that he wasn't replacing Emma by pursuing music. He was honoring her by keeping her spirit alive through song. Working with David changed my perspective on everything, Blake said in an interview during the live shows. He reminded me that the most powerful music comes from the deepest love, and that sometimes the most beautiful performances are the ones that carry someone else's dreams forward. David's journey through the competition became a masterclass in love, loss, and the power of sibling bonds to transcend death. His version of Tears in Heaven brought the studio to its feet. His duet with Blake on Go Rest High on That Mountain showcased his ability to channel grief into art that touched everyone who heard it. Each performance was a conversation with Emma, a way of keeping her dreams alive through his voice. During the finale, David performed the original song Emma had written in her journal, the one she never got to finish. As he sang about growing up with music, about having dreams bigger than small towns could hold, about loving someone enough to carry their hopes when they couldn't carry them anymore, there wasn't a dry eye in the studio. The screen behind him showed home videos of him and Emma performing together through the years, her voice growing stronger and more confident as she prepared for the audition she would never get to have. David finished second in the competition, but his real victory was already achieved. He had shown millions of viewers that love doesn't end with death, that dreams can survive even when the dreamers don't, and that sometimes the most beautiful music comes from the deepest grief transformed into tribute. In his final performance speech, David's words were clear and strong. This has been for Emma. From the very beginning, she was going to be here, standing right here, showing the world what an amazing voice sounds like. Instead, I'm here, trying to show the world what an amazing sister sounds like, when someone loves her enough to carry her dreams forward. Blake stood behind him throughout his speech, his hand on David's shoulder, tears streaming down his face, as this 30-year-old man taught the world a lesson about sibling love, loss, and the power of music to bridge any gap, even the one between life and death. Today, David performs throughout the country, always with Emma's picture displayed beside him on stage. He started a foundation for teens who have lost siblings, using music therapy to help young people navigate the impossible journey of learning to live without their best friend, their protector, their musical partner. The guitar that Emma never got to play on the Voice stage now travels with David to every performance, a reminder that some dreams are bigger than one lifetime, some voices live on through the people who loved them most, and some songs are so powerful that they can carry a sister's dreams across the boundary between life and death. Blake Shelton learned something that night that changed his understanding of music forever. David taught me that the most powerful performances aren't just about individual talent. Sometimes they're about the love we carry, the dreams we inherit from people who can't pursue them anymore, and the voices that sing along from somewhere we can't see but can always feel in our hearts. Because sometimes the most beautiful duets are performed by singers separated by worlds. Sometimes the strongest voices are the ones that carry someone else's dreams. And sometimes a big brother singing alone can teach us all what it means to love someone so much that their dreams become your dreams. Their voice becomes your voice. Their memory becomes your mission. David Martinez proved that The Voice isn't just about individual dreams, it's about the love that shapes us, the losses that define us, and the music that keeps our most precious relationships alive, even when death tries to silence them. His sister Emma may not have gotten to stand on that stage, but her presence filled every note, proving that some dreams are eternal, and some sibling bonds are too strong for death to break.